Welcome to Cryptic Chronicles, where the shadows speak and the stories never sleep. Marcus Bell wasn't your average collector. He didn't chase baseball cards or antique coins or Civil War bullets sealed in amber lucite. Marcus collected dolls, realistic, detailed, uncanny dolls. His apartment, a long, thin one-bedroom overlooking the cracked sidewalks of Havenbrook's old quarter, looked like a glass-eyed orphanage. Porcelain heads lined the fireplace mantel. Limbs hung from hooks in careful poses. He called it art. Others, those brave enough to step inside, called it disturbing. But Marcus didn't care. He didn't collect for them. He collected because something deep inside him, something ancient and nameless, told him to. He found the listing on an obscure message board he visited less for shopping and more for entertainment. A user named Whittleman13 posted a single, blurry photograph of a girl-sized doll in a wooden rocking chair. The caption read, "One of a kind, life-sized. Do not let her blink." Most would have kept scrolling, but Marcus, ever the eccentric, stared longer than he meant to. The craftsmanship of the doll's face was stunning, too human. The shadows clinging to her expression weren't quite still. There was something in the curve of her mouth, in the darkness of her eyes, that spoke to the predator part of the brain. It whispered a question he couldn't hear, but felt all the same. He clicked the message. The price was insultingly low, $120, plus shipping. For something of that size and quality, it should have been thousands. His hands moved on their own, typing payment information. A whisper in the back of his mind said, "You've been chosen." 3 days later, the box arrived on his doorstep. It wasn't a box, exactly. It was a crate, large and coffin-shaped, bolted shut with iron clasps. No return address, just a torn label with a red wax seal and one line stamped in old type. "Don't let her blink." Unpacking her took hours. The crate was lined with old velvet and stitched with faded runes Marcus assumed were decorative. The velvet smelled faintly of lilacs and old copper. The doll itself, she wore a blue pinafore and leather shoes. Her hair, long and flaxen, was tied with black ribbon. Her skin was cold but pliable. Not porcelain, not resin. Something else. Something disturbingly close to flesh. Her eyes were the worst part. They were glass, yes. He tapped them with a fingernail. But beneath that surface, they seemed to drink light. Her gaze followed him no matter where he stood. He laughed at himself, uncomfortable, but couldn't stop checking. It was the gaze of something that understood more than it should. He named her Clara. That first night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the note. Don't let her blink. Stupid. Dolls don't blink. But his mind gnawed on the words like a rat behind the wall. He got up 3 times to check on her. Each time, she was exactly the same. Legs together, hands in her lap, head slightly tilted. At 3:11 a.m., he opened his eyes to find her sitting at the foot of his bed. He screamed, leapt up, threw the bedside lamp. She toppled backward with a lifeless thud. Marcus stood panting in the dark. Then he laughed, louder than he meant to. Sleepwalking, he told himself. He must have carried her there and forgotten. Stress, caffeine, isolation. He dragged Clara back to the living room, set her upright, and muttered curses all the way back to bed. The next morning, she was on the kitchen stool, and her eyes were half closed. Things escalated. Clara appeared in different places: his office chair, the bathtub, once inside the locked china cabinet. Her poses changed subtly, hands placed in strange expressive gestures, like signs from a language no one taught. Her eyes began to close, not all at once, slowly, over hours, like someone drifting to sleep in public, embarrassed to admit it. But every time Marcus looked away, no matter how briefly, her lids drooped just a hair more. It was maddening. Marcus documented it all. Photographs, videos. None of them showed movement. In every image, Clara remained exactly where he left her. Eyes open, smile frozen. Only when no one looked did she change. The note haunted him. Not a warning, an instruction. Don't let her blink. As if blinking was not an act of hers, but of his, as if his looking was the only thing holding something back. Marcus quit his job, stopped going outside. He fashioned a rig of mirrors so he could see her from every angle of the apartment. He set alarms every 20 minutes to wake himself through the night. His beard grew long, his mind frayed. He spoke to her. Sometimes she seemed to listen. Once, he caught her lips parted slightly, as though she were breathing a word she couldn't quite say. He begged her to stop. One night, near dawn, he nodded off while staring at her face through the bathroom mirror. A single second, maybe less. When he woke, Clara was standing. She had never stood before. Her eyes were closed. Marcus collapsed to the floor, moaning. A fog settled over the apartment, the light dimming at the edges. The dolls on the shelves turned their heads, one by one, toward Clara. Their tiny mouths opened. Some smiled, some cried. She opened her eyes. They weren't glass anymore. They were human. They found Marcus 3 days later, catatonic, whispering gibberish into his hands. Every mirror in the apartment was broken. The other dolls were gone. Clara was never recovered. But now and then, late at night, strange messages appear on the board where he first found her. Each one is the same. She's almost done blinking. They say sometimes, if you look in the corner of a toy store's security feed, you'll see her, just for a second, in a rocking chair, smiling, eyes nearly shut. And then she's gone. Only one photo of Marcus remains from that time. It shows him standing in the middle of his apartment, eyes wide, mouth agape. Behind him, in the reflection of a broken TV screen, Clara stands. Her eyes are closed, and her smile has teeth. Liked what you heard? Hit subscribe, drop a comment, and share the fear. This is Cryptic Chronicles, where the darkness never ends.